welcome back. This is the third episode of the project of which I'm making a granite base for a driveway lamp post. So if you go back and watch the other videos, you can do that either afterwards or before, but it'll make a lot more sense to you if you haven't already seen those videos. In this episode, I'm going to be assembling the pieces that I've cut and prepared for the plinth. So this is once the pieces are glued together, we can secure it and continue to refine the finishes, finish off the chamfer properly, and then also pin it. Okay, so I have here on my fabric gloves, as you can see, and what I'm doing here is I'm just mixing in some pigment into the polyester resin. So in this case, you can either use a standard liquid pigment that you'd use for, say, paints or for other types of epoxies, or you can actually use, in the case of polyester, you can actually use acrylic resin, or acrylic paint rather. And so that's what I've used, is just a standard black acrylic paint. And so you mix that thoroughly. I'm not going too dark, because if you add too much, it actually compromises the integrity of the bond. And then I add just enough hardener. Now, the warmer the weather, the faster it'll go off, the less hardener you have to use. So today it's relatively cool, and that'll give me a little bit of working time. And as you can see, the joints, they're slightly undercut. That is an important detail. In order to get really nice tight joints, it's ideal to have a slightly undercut joint, so that when you bring them together, the face is touching, but you still have enough glue or epoxy in the back to get a good bond. And I prefer to butter both faces. I think that it ends up getting a slightly more confident bond. And you just squish them together. And I like to do only one at a time as well, because I find that when you're racing against the clock with this stuff, it can be a bit overwhelming. So only ever mix what you need. As it is, I've mixed probably about 4 times what I need. But because it's cool weather today, I might be able to get 2 done at the same time. Let's see. And when you're squaring up stone, it's important to remember for them to be square both ways. Not only square as a box, but also plumb. Because how they go together is how they will be together. Now, if this was a hot day, I wouldn't stand a chance, because it would probably have already set up by now. The epoxy actually, or the polyester actually, goes off faster when you add the pigment to it. So I'm fortunate with the cooler weather today. And always double check, make sure that nothing has changed. Another important detail to remember is when you're dealing with messy resins and epoxies, to put down a bit of paper, as I put here. That way, if it sets up on you, it's not bonding itself to the bench. So all these little details you learn from experience. It's not a lot to it. And then always double check this epoxy. If it goes off too quickly and the joints have a lot of bond to them, they'll actually, just as it's setting up, it actually shrinks. And that's, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to leave this piece right here, and this will brace the ends from being pulled in. If you don't brace the ends, the bond is actually so strong that it'll actually shrink at the very last moments, and it'll actually pull your pieces at a square. And it's always when you step away for 2 seconds that things go funny on you. So try to stay around right till it sets up. It's not a big time commitment. It's always it's like Murphy's Law. You just never. There, see, it's already going off. Here I have wasted all this. You only get one chance to. Well, the nice thing about this resin is though it has a really great bond, it's not impossible to reverse it. That's what makes it really, really friendly. It's my preferred synthetic adhesive to use because it's not too hard and it's not too soft, and that's actually what gives it a superior bond. When you have something that goes off too hard, the problem is that it behaves a bit like glass, and when it loses its bond, it separates complete. Whereas when it's soft, it's like the difference between lime mortar and Portland cement. A lime mortar, though is softer, it has more tack and more flex, and therefore makes the building more resilient to change in conditions. This synthetic resin of the polyester is very similar to that. It's basically like the lime of adhesives. You could use that as an analogy. Okay, so we have two pieces, three sections, three sides glued together now. All we have to do is complete the box. I have my wasted glue there. The nice thing about Granite is you can use it as a glue board, and it cleans up real nice. Now I won't need nearly as much. As you can see, it's quite a liquidy pigment. It's not terribly strong either, so you have to add a little bit more than, say, a more concentrated pigment. But it still does the job just fine, and it's readily available, so you don't have to worry about ordering ahead or sourcing the pigments. But you can get a commercial pigment just as well. But this makes it a little bit more achievable or obtainable. Yeah, so I'm double checking, make sure that this is still square, because this is still setting up. It's just getting warm now. So even though it's dried, it's firm to the touch. It continues to set up. You have to be careful about it because it's right at those last moments that it shrinks. You can get caught off guard. Now, it's probably the only time you'll ever see someone using a polyester resin like this. I've never known anybody else, but this is an old school trick. But you can use epoxy just the same. Epoxy is more of an industry standard. But if you live in an area where there's any kind of frost action, this is much more preferable than epoxy. Okay, so just going to check this square, and yeah, I'm a little bit out. There we go. And that'll do. So once it's all set up, then we can start to play with this. And then when I say play with it, I mean finishing it off getting everything exactly the right size all the way around, and then finishing off the final chamfer. The chamfer detail is it's a small little detail, but it's really what elevates everything and helps to tie it all together visually. And that's pretty much it. So I'll repeat the same process for the other one. And then I'll be doing exactly the same thing with the rest of the base, and then the cap as well. It's a pretty simple routine. There's not a lot to it. So it's the next day, and as you can see, this has been put together. I think hopefully you can bear with me and get the point. But this has been glued together, and so now the next thing is just to make sure that everything is the right size. So it's just a matter of making sure that the top and the bottom beds are consistent. So this is the bottom, this is the top, and you can see this this scribed line here represents where the chamfer will finish off. So yeah, so the next stage is just to finish the upper edge so that then I can run the chamfer. It's pretty straightforward. So let's go. The next stage will be to trim this miter. So I'm not sure if you can see the scribe line here or not, but it's going to be roughly it's going to be 5/8 by 1/2 inch chamfer. Okay, so that's let me just take this thing off so that I can actually talk to everybody. There we go. That's a little bit better. So this is the roughed out chamfer, and it's just a rough cut. So you can either you can pad it in with a diamond pad, or you can just use a sanding block. You don't have to use modern diamond tools. That's the one, well, when you think about it, granite has been around a long time, and we've worked with granite for a very long time. So before diamond tools existed, there was other ways of doing things. In this case, I have this, it's a 60 grit diamond sponge pad. Um, it'll work very well. You know, it cuts in very nice and it does a good job, and they're not expensive. So you can use it. You can use that, or let me just go into cabinet of tricks here. You can use a rub stone, which is this is just a broken grinding wheel. Not sure what type of material it is. It's probably something like a silicon carbide or an aluminum oxide. Yeah, I can't say exactly what it is, but it's a hard man-made grinding stone that's broken down. And if you ever have any leftover grinding stones from a bench grinder or any kind of an abrasive stone, they make really good rub stones. You can just snap them and let them shape themselves, and they're absolutely essential for any stonecutter to have these in their toolkit, in various shapes and sizes for rubbing up jobs. They, for certain situations, and in the future I will showcase where they come in handy, but they're absolutely essential in every stone kit for certain finishes and certain situations that there's really no other way to achieve a certain finish. It's a hard rock that you literally rub it and you use it in place of sandpaper. So what they would have used in days past before they had diamond pads or diamond any tools, they would have used not a man-made stone, but they would have used a natural stone, which would have served exactly the same purpose. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time, where we will be covering the assembly of the box, or the main body of the base of the lamp, and the caps, which you can see off to the side here. So yeah, so thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.